Today on the Locked On Blues podcast, we just witnessed one of the greatest playoff games in not just St. Louis Blues history, but in recent NHL history, as the Blues came back from two separate deficits with under 10 minutes to go in the third period, one of them being a 3-goal deficit, and then scored a game winner in overtime to have a 5-4 victory over the Colorado Avalanche on the road to force a game 6. I mean, there's not much you can say about it other than holy moly, what a game. We're going to be getting into it here, given our reactions. I know you're still jazzed up, Tommy. I still feel like I haven't recovered, even though the game was 24 hours ago. We got so much to talk about. Make sure you stay tuned.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Locked On Blues podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and your number one source for daily Blues content. I'm your host, Josh Hyman, and as always, I'm joined by Thomas Welch. And listen, you heard the intro, you saw the game, you know what we're here to talk about. The St. Louis Blues shocked the world, shocked me, shocked Tommy, shocked all of you when they showed that they have no quit. And like I said, came back from two separate third period deficits with under 10 minutes to go in what was probably the most exciting playoff game I've ever seen, not counting the cup run. I don't know. What can be said? Thanks to everyone out there for making Locked On Blues your first listen, because we are free and available at all podcast platforms. Tommy, where the heck do we start?
I think you got to start with 2-0, because that's the point where I thought this game was over, Josh. I mean, you watched Nathan Mackinnon go out there skating around like an absolute bull on the ice pretty much. And it's something that we haven't really seen from him this series so far. But, I mean, if anybody wants to move on to the next round for the Colorado Avalanche, it's absolutely that guy. So you kind of expect that in a game where they can potentially clinch, for him to come out like a bat out of hell. And that's exactly what happened. The Blues just had no answer for him. And if you would have told me at the beginning of the game that Nathan Mackinnon would have a hat trick in game 5, I would have said absolutely no chance, no way do the Blues come out victorious. But lo and behold, I mean, we've watched this team do it all season long, where they even said like there's not really a sense of urgency in that locker room when they're down by multiple goals, because they know that they can score multiple goals in bunches and score it pretty much any time that they want. And so I think Robert Thomas was talking about it after the game, is like when your back's up against the wall, there's really nothing you can do but throw the kitchen sink at it. So that's what the Blues did. They put everything out on the line, and lo and behold, you come away victorious against a Stanley Cup favorite in the Colorado Avalanche. This is, I think you said it, but this is one of the most impressive wins, especially playoff wins in recent memory for the St. Louis Blues. And I'm like, in my lifetime, I don't think I've felt like, I think the Dallas game with the double overtime is similar. I think the Troy Brouwer game is similar, but I would put this game right up there in the same category as those two.
Yeah, I mean, like the roller coaster of emotions that happened in that game, like you said, that second McKinnon goal, where like I've talked about it a lot. I've said like one of the keys to this series was going to be when the inevitable Nathan MacKinnon game happens, the Blues can't get discouraged, because like I said, it's inevitable. However, I didn't have a whole lot of faith that this team would keep the wind in their sails, just because I feel like we've seen them kind of give up pretty easily earlier in the series. And I'm like, well, you know, if Nathan MacKinnon's been off his game and they've still kind of lost motivation, how the heck are they going to do it when he looks like he's going to go out and score 6 goals tonight, like you said, after that second goal? And it took them a while, but they weathered the storm. You know, going down 3-0 especially was like, all right, you know, it's final game of the season. Not going to say it's over, but let's start thinking of off-season narratives for tomorrow's episode. Like, I'll be honest, it was very, very, very hard to foresee the Blues coming back when they were down 3-0, especially, you know, as the third period ticked on, and it was just like, all right, you know, this is a typical Avalanche are closing out. They're doing their thing. This is a typical closeout game in a series where one team is unfortunately just outplaying the other. It felt like it had every recipe to be that. And all of a sudden, about halfway through the first 10 minutes of the third period, Blues started rolling a little bit. They started cycling. I think they hit like a crossbar or something. That might have been after the first goal, but they were putting a little bit of pressure on. They did score a goal at the end of the second period, but still, it was 3-1 at that point. So Tarasneko gets his goal at the end of the second period. Got a flashback. And that's when I felt like, okay, maybe they have a chance. But even then, third period was like, all right, the first 10 minutes are so huge. And still being down 3-1 at that point, it's a big test, to come back and produce 2 goals in the third period against the Colorado Avalanche team. And they did it. They, started with Robert Thomas, just under 10 minutes to go. And then it was Jordan Kyrou. And then it was, that was 3-3. Yeah. And then Nathan Mackinnon did his thing. And we'll get into that. But like at that point, go down 4-3 off of a goal like that from Nathan Mackinnon. It's like, okay, how the heck are you going to recover from that? That is, you mentioned it before the podcast. That is, what's his name? Steve Yzerman levels of highlight reel worthy, of season ender of a goal. There's no way in heck the Blues can recover from that, right?
Right, exactly. Like Steve Yzerman, dude, like I feel like so many times with that rivalry with the Red Wings, you could talk about like how the Blues like got screwed and consistently almost felt like they're cursed, and like every single time Red Wings will just post that gif into oblivion, and it's like you can't even say anything because you lost that game, and it just like it pains you so much, right? It's like the same level, I feel like, what could have potentially happened with that Mackinnon goal. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. That was one of the dirtiest goals I've ever seen, right? I mean, the dude literally just enforced his will on the entire St. Louis Blues team on the ice. Dangles Nick Leddy, who had a fantastic game, by the way, 3 assists on the guy. Props to you. Made Ville Husso look like he was standing still and just roofs it. I mean, that's kind of what you get with Nathan Mackinnon, one of the best players in the NHL. And I feel like that's why people don't have any patience really for Vladimir Tarasneko when he goes quiet in the playoffs, because you look around and you've got, I mean, it's obviously like Connor McDavid's the best player in the NHL and Nathan McKinnon's up there too. But like every single team kind of has one guy that's spearheading their run, and it's usually their superstar and a guy that you can lean on and depend on. And for the Blues, there's been times where there's been like singular games, I feel like, where Vladimir Tarasenko's been that guy, but it's never really been for a full series for me, at least. If there has been, I'm blanking on it right now, and I think that's why people get so frustrated with Tarasenko. But like I said, that Mackinnon goal would have gone down in infamy for the Avalanche as the curse breaker. They would have been posting it everywhere to every Blues fan, rubbing it in their face for ages. None of that matters anymore because they didn't win. So now we're going to Game 6. We got a chance to tie up the series and force a Game 7. I'm so excited. I think all the momentum in the series has shifted in the Blues' favor. The Avalanche are probably gripping their sticks a little tight right now, probably thinking about all the times they've been knocked out in the second round. I think it was since 2004 was the last time that they went on to the third round. So I would hate to be in their shoes right now because the pressure is increasing. If you get to a Game 7, that pressure is going to be insurmountable.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'll tell you what, we got lots more to talk about from that game and from the series as a whole. But before that, Tommy, Built Bar's got a new product. You've heard about Built Bars. You've heard about Built Puffs. But we've all been asking, and Built delivered. Built granola bars are here. Built granola bars come in 3 unbelievable flavors: chocolate, peanut butter, which, as you know, Tommy, that's been my favorite Built Bar flavor since way back, the OG days, back when it was just Built Bar, back when they didn't have the puffs and the granola now. But chocolate, peanut butter, they know it's a fan favorite. They brought it back. Chocolate coconut, and here's what I'm really excited to try: white chocolate berry. You want to try all 3 flavors? You can get yourself a mixed box at Built.com right now.
Does it come with a free water bottle?
Ooh, it doesn't, but don't throw it at anyone. With 150 calories, 15 grams of protein, and only 4 grams of sugar, Built granola bars will change your world. Built has cracked the code to better granola. They're the perfect healthy snack to pack in your lunch, take on the road, or eat as a snack. So if you've been waiting for a healthy and delicious granola bar to hit the market, this is your time. Head to Built.com right now to get the Built granola bars. 3 delicious flavors to try: chocolate peanut butter, chocolate coconut, and the white chocolate berry. Don't miss out. You got to get yours today. Go to built.com to get Built granola bars now. Like I said, go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Now, we'll be right back with the second half of today's episode. All right, Tommy. So early in the episode, we talked about Vladimir Tarasneko's goal, but I do want to take a second to highlight just how important that goal was at the end of the second period. You head into the third period down 3-0, and you've got pretty much an impossible task. Avalanche will start. Not that they would play the trap, but Avalanche start sitting back, start playing defensive-minded hockey. Stop going for as much north to south stuff as they usually do, which kind of allows the Blues to get their opportunities. And like I said, would have been an impossible hill to climb. But now all of a sudden, the Avalanche haven't had a whole lot going for them in the second half of that second period. Vladimir Tarasneko, a guy who's been all but invisible the rest of the series, kind of converts nothing into something with one of his patented wrist shots. And now all of a sudden you're sitting in the locker room looking at a 2-goal deficit. Or if you're the Avalanche, you're looking at a 2-goal lead, which, as everyone says, is the most dangerous lead in hockey. And you're getting nervous a little bit if you're the Colorado Avalanche, if you're Darcy Kemper. And without that, it's obviously without that Tarasenko goal, the Blues don't win the game. But without that Tarasenko goal, the Blues have no shot of winning that game. And I think it's going to go kind of underappreciated with the craziness of the rest of that game. But for Vladimir Tarasneko to come in and score that goal and get the monkey off his back in that series is huge. And then obviously another guy who we've been so critical of, Robert Thomas, had, I believe, one playoff goal heading into the game last night and like 3 shots in the entire series. I think he had 6 shots on goal before he even scored his first goal. I might be wrong.
He finished with 6 shots on the night.
Okay.
I know that for sure, which led the team, by the way.
Maybe he had like 4 shots on goal. Well, whatever. Regardless, Robert Thomas, unbelievable stuff from him. He looked like a man possessed out there. He looked like Nathan MacKinnon looked in the first period. He was a man on a mission. He did not want the Blues to lose that game. Getting the second goal was huge from him. Obviously, the later one that tied it up. But, oh, man, that second tying goal with 56 seconds left. You could say it's right place, right time. But, I mean, there's so much to talk about there. From Robert Bortuzzo, basically making a save himself, clearing the puck off the goal line, to who is it, Justin Falk, basically denying the Avs their easy empty net chance. To just,
he also kept the puck in the zone.
He also had an amazing offensive keep in, which sucks that he didn't get credited for the goal, but whatever, what have you. And then Thomas, ties it up there. I mean, it feels like every one of those 4 goals was iconic, because the second goal, I'm like, wait a minute. They might do this. And obviously the third goal, I'm convinced, like, oh, crap, momentum's all within the Blues. And then Nathan MacKinnon does what he does. Momentum's all in the Blues' favor. Nathan MacKinnon basically takes a LeBron-esque 3-pointer, from the logo in classic fashion and just drains the air out of the St. Louis Blues, or so we thought. And the resilience from the Blues to withstand that. And then Tyler Bozak.
I was going to say, we haven't even talked about him yet. He had 7 minutes of time on ice in the whole game. Just hops on the ice casually in overtime, gets a 77-mile-per-hour clapper, and it beats Kemper, which, by the way, we were also talking about on this podcast. All you have to do is get shots on Kemper because he's not that sturdy, as a lot of Avs fans like to give him credit for. So he's like a Vezina candidate, all of this stuff. Dude, it's just the Avs defense with anybody. I could be in net for the Avs, and I'd probably put up like a 900 save percentage. It's insane.
I think we should.
Yeah,
I think we
actually,
should
put me in the pipes for Game 6, Bednar, and see what happens. I promise, I'll do my best.
I think we should make that happen. We should definitely make that happen. We'll reach out to some of the folks at Locked On, see if we can get that arranged.
Yeah, but I think what it boils down to for me, Josh, we also talked about the depth scoring of this team and having guys.
It finally showed up.
It finally showed up, and I think a big part of that, driving that offense too, was a guy that's had an incredible playoffs. I feel like not enough people are talking about, because you kind of mention it when it shows up in flashes, but he's not a sexy name and he's not like a core member of this team. But Torpachenko, I think Lou Korak said it best last night when it said,
what a game.
He won't go back down to the AHL. I'm 100% on board with that. I'd even bump him up a line and give him more minutes, which I think they did last night. I mean, the dude's just playing. You talk about playing like a man on fire. That guy is easily one of the hottest players for the St. Louis Blues right now. He's banging bodies. He's making great plays. He's not fumbling pucks. And I feel like that's kind of the issues that the Blues have had as offense as a whole. So for him to be doing what he's doing, for Robert Thomas to finally get on the score sheet, I know that's a monkey off of his back. For Vladimir Tarasneko to get a goal in this series finally, that's a monkey off of his back as well. Like I said, dude, all the momentum is piling up in the Blues' favor. If they take Game 6, I think they take Game 7 easily.
Yeah. I mean, Toropchenko, unbelievable stuff from him. I mean, I think I don't know. Did he have two? I think he had one assist on the, was it the Falk goal or the Cairo goal? But I think he created 2 goals at least. I don't have.
He's credited for 1 assist.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 shots on goal.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he created, 2 goals, just through his effort. And, it doesn't reflect on the box score quite as much, but he was one of the most valuable players for the St. Louis Blues last night. I want to bring up one funny point. Did you see the video of the bench reaction to Tyler Bozak's goal?
Yeah. O'Reilly. Is this where
you're
going?
Yeah. Okay. So for those of you who didn't see it, it's real good. I don't know who was next to O'Reilly, but as Bozak winds up for the slap shot, whoever's next to O'Reilly just kind of stands up. And let's say, if you're looking at me, this is what O'Reilly saw. He just saw the back of a jersey, couldn't see what was happening. He's like, wait,
he's taking a swig of his water bottle.
Right. He's taking a swig of his water bottle. And all of a sudden he looks up at the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
And then everybody stands up. And then half a second later, O'Reilly's like, oh, what? And then he
does
jumps
the
up
thing
too.
where he throws the water bottle up in the air and he starts freaking out.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Oh, my God. That was great stuff. I mean, the video of Berube walking into the locker room, keeping it composed.
Boozy, baby!
Yeah, keeps it composed for 2 seconds and then just lets all the emotion rip. I mean, look, all I'm saying is not gonna jinx anything, but giving me vibes of some of the playoff videos from when the Blues won the Stanley Cup. Just the energy, the camaraderie, the chemistry that's clearly on the bench in the locker room. That was honestly probably my favorite Blues game since the one where they, lifted the Stanley Cup at the end. I mean, oh my God. In this third and final segment coming up,
we didn't even talk about Ville Husso yet. So
we didn't talk about Ville Husso. We'll tell you what, we're going to talk about some of the keys to the Blues extending this series and pushing it and hopefully winning a Game 7. And honestly, Ville Husso might be the number one X factor for the Blues. So we'll be getting into that and all the other keys to the games for the St. Louis Blues. But first, I want to talk to you guys about BetOnline. Now, our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts, and we'll be right back to wrap up today's episode. All right. So, I mean, we've talked about this last game enough. Well, actually, I don't think we can, because I don't think we can ever talk about that game enough. But there were some positives in that game that are definitely going to carry over. It doesn't feel like it was just a flash in the pan, magical victory. And the first guy I want to talk about, you mentioned a little before the break, is Ville Husso. Now, Ville Husso's no Jordan Binnington. We didn't get an elite performance out of him last night, but once the Blues started their comeback, he was as good as he could have been. And I think that that's what people are getting a little overly frustrated with Ville Husso is we talk about all the time, like you can only do as well as the team is playing in front of you. And I think the fact that the second that the Blues turned it on, Ville Husso pretty much pitched a shutout besides Nathan MacKinnon scoring one of the best goals we've seen in the playoffs is evident to that fact. It's, if the Blues can come out and play as strong as they did in the second half of that game, and, the second half of the third period in Game 6 and knock on wood, a Game 7, I think Ville Husso will be just fine. It's just a matter of he's not like Jordan Binnington in the sense that if you're getting outshot like 20-5 in a period, which, even though he did that in the first period of the last game, so maybe I'm wrong, but he's not going to steal you a game when you're getting outplayed as frequently as Jordan Binnington. But if he'll give you a chance to win, and he gave the Blues a chance to win last night, and they took advantage of it. So I'm not worried about him. All he needs to do is give them a chance to win in Game 6, and I have no reason to believe he won't do that.
Yeah, I think you phrased it best. I mean, Ville Husso, did he go out there and was he a shutdown number one goaltender, like one of the best in the league like Vasilevsky? Absolutely not. But what he did do was stop the bleeding. I think once those 3 goals happened, he did a fantastic job of shutting them down and taking away, and that builds momentum too, right? Like when like obviously being down 3 goals is not ideal, but if they still are having consistent offensive scoring chances after that, and your goalie's putting on a clinic, which I thought Ville Husso made some just absurd saves that he had no business making after those 3 goals, especially in that third period. Like I said, I think he really kept the Blues in the game. And when you're trying to build a comeback, it's easy. I mean, we saw it a couple games ago when the Avs scored their 5th goal, I believe, when the Blues made it. It was 4-3 at the time. And the Avs scored to make it 5-3. Like, that's a backbreaker, right? Like, the Blues are trying to crawl back into the game. They score at the end of the period, come out in the third. That's a huge loss of momentum. But he kind of did the opposite this time, and that's kind of like game management. I feel like that's another thing that Jordan Binnington is so good at. So if Ville Husso can manage games like he did in the last game, and just give the Blues a fighting chance, I think it'll pay off for them in the long run. But I think at the bare bones of all of it, we talked about that stat. In the Ville Husso's last 10 games or something like that, he's only let in less than 3 goals twice. And so now it's 11 in his last 11 games. But he still gives you an opportunity to win, right? And I think with the Blues offense, you have to go into games where Ville Husso's starting knowing that if you score 1 or 2 goals in this game, you're probably not going to win. Like, that's just a matter of fact. Like, there's probably like a 20% chance that you win and Ville Husso has lights out shutout or whatever. But you gotta rely on your offense to do what they've been doing all season long. And thankfully for the St. Louis Blues, they managed to pull that out and do that against the Avs in Game 5.
Yeah, and like the thing is, I think we're taking goaltending for granted because we've had the pleasure of watching, when he's at his best, an elite goaltender in Jordan Binnington for so long. And the difference between elite goaltenders and good goaltenders like Ville Husso is the Avalanche are going to get, or any team, unless it's the goalie's best game of the week or whatever, they're going to get 2 goals. They're going to get scoring chances that you're just not going to stop. An elite goalie is going to rob you once or twice. That's why a team will only score 2 goals rather than 3 or 4. A good goalie is going to let in a stinker here and there. Once a night even. They're going to give up a goal that they want back. Darcy Kuemper has given up plenty of goals.
I was just about to say, Avs fans had it up to here with Darcy Kuemper. And
right.
They've lost 2 games in the playoffs so far, right? And they asked Bednar if he considered making a goalie change for next game. That's how unhinged these Avs fans are. So
yeah, and it's like, yeah, could Ville Husso have made like 1 or 2 more saves and the Blues would be at even in this series? Sure, but you can make that argument about anything. It's not that he needs to clean up the rough goals. Obviously, it would be nice and it would give the Blues a better chance, but he's good enough to keep the Blues in a game like last night they had no business being in. And it wasn't his doing, but he certainly helped. The Blues got outshot in overtime. And he was tested in that overtime. He didn't make some miraculous SportsCenter top 10 saves, but the Avalanche could have absolutely won in overtime. He could have given up a rebound here or there. He could have just let a stinker in overtime, but he didn't. When the lights were brightest, when it was most important for him to play like an elite goalie, he did. And I think for that matter, we need to give Ville Husso more credit and also remember the fact that the Blues probably would have made the playoffs if it weren't for Ville Husso. We wouldn't even be in this situation if Ville Husso didn't step up in the regular season. So all praise to him.
Not like he's not capable.
Right. Exactly. He's not going to be like Carey Price out there, or Andrei Vasilevsky, and pitch a shutout every other game in the playoffs, but he's going to give you a chance to win, and he's not going to give up. I would almost argue that Ville Husso has been, not almost argue, I would 100% argue that Ville Husso has been better than Darcy Kuemper in this series. It just happens to be that Colorado's offense has been much more
way more shots.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, there's no goalie in this series I'd rather want between the pipes than Ville Husso. Obviously Binnington is healthy. That's a different story, but you gotta work with the cards dealt to you. And Ville Husso is not a bad ace up the sleeve for the St. Louis Blues. Other than that, Tommy, we're getting near the end, but what would you say is one more key for the Blues extending this series to Game 7?
Well, I think for me, it's just building off the momentum of Game 5, right? Everything that went right in Game 5, you had Ville Husso in that third period towards the end there, keeping you within striking distance and keeping you in the game. I thought he had a fantastic performance. If he can roll that over into Game 6, we might see a game where he lets in less than 3 goals. I wouldn't be surprised, right? So that's something to keep an eye on, especially for a lot of people that were hounding for Charlie Lindgren. I feel like we're still going to see Charlie Lindgren in the future, maybe not in this playoffs, but maybe next season. But for right now, Ville Husso is the man, so we're going to band behind him. We know that what he's capable of. He's done it the majority of this season. He struggled a little bit in this playoffs, but I think, like I said, building that momentum in the third period, having that comeback win for the entire team. I mean, we saw the locker room with Craig Berube absolutely losing his mind and losing his cool. I mean, that is the stuff that drives teams through the playoffs. Same thing with Robert Thomas, same thing with Tyler Bozak, same thing with Tarasenko, same thing with Torpachenko. Like, getting all these guys rolling, even though, like, albeit I would have loved to have all these guys rolling in Game 1 of this series and see what happened. It just wasn't the case. Better late than never, right?
Exactly.
So they're all rolling now. If you can steamroll that momentum from Game 5 into Game 6, that is the absolute best chance for the Blues to come away with a victory in Game 6 as well. Because you know the Avs are going to be going out there and sweating bullets, right? And
Pressure's
Blues fans
exactly. That's
are going to be letting them
hear
it. Blues fans are going to be letting Darcy Kemper hear it, because I think the last 2 games he's faced a total of like 40 shots. It's like 20 shots on goal per game, and he's let in like 3 goals twice or something like that. So his save percentage is not great, right? And I think that's why Avs fans are talking about a goalie change, is because he's not getting a huge workload to have to go out there and shut down, but he's still not being able to do it. So the game plan for the Blues is get a ton of shots on Darcy Kemper, make him work for it, but also focus on all 4 of those lines. We're getting success and getting offense driven from all 4 of those lines. That's absolutely what you have to do against this Avs team. Shut them down defensively, shut them down goaltending, come away with a dub, take it to Game 7 and see what happens.
Absolutely. Pressure is all on the Avalanche. They have a second round curse, like you said, and all I'm saying is they probably went into Game 4 feeling pretty confident. And after that Nathan Mackinnon goal, they're probably making their travel plans for the Western Conference Final in their head. They're probably all but 100% convinced that they were winning that game, winning the series. And now all of a sudden that sense of doubt is starting to creep in. Obviously, they still have the advantage on paper, but the Blues go in, they lose Game 6. That means nothing for the Avs. That means nothing for them. That's expected. And given what the Blues did in Game 5, I honestly think all parties are satisfied with that outcome. However, they go down 1-0 in Game 6. Blues get that first goal. Enterprise Center starts rocking. Avs start thinking, oh, man, what if this goes to 7? That's all I'm saying is crazier things have happened. The Blues have honestly done the hardest part. Winning Game 5 in being down 3-1 is probably the hardest game to win, given the pressure and the expectations. So, just got to do that 2 more times. And I honestly, truly think that they can. This is the most confident I've felt in this series, even before they even when they even the series up. I wasn't feeling this confident. I'm really looking forward to Game 6 tomorrow night. We'll have all the coverage for you here on the Locked On Blues podcast. That being said, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you listen to us on, because that is all the time we have for you guys today. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. The channel's been popping off. We just hit 300 subscribers, which is real exciting. On the road to 1 million. A lot of miles left on that road, but we are on the road. It is a long road. Jokes aside, though, on the road to, let's say, 500, just for fun. Thanks for all the support there. Truly means the world to us. Follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at Locked On Blues. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Hyman NHL. Follow Tommy at TWelcher15. Thanks so much for listening. And as always, let's go Blues.